So just record, and we are live.
Hey, welcome to day 5.
Yes, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, everybody decided to join us. Welcome to day 5, the seeds of life. Yes, so it's so nice to see everybody back onto our screens again, and we do hope that today you're going to enjoy it of what we're going to do. Today, we're going to look at exploring the plants. So our learning objective basically is exploring the parts of the plant, especially the flower, and how important those parts are when it comes to pollination, seed formation, and seed dispersal. Yes, so those are the things that we are going to look at today. Now, of course, Sarah. Oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce ourselves again. It's one of those things that I love to forget. We've got our scientist, Sarah, with us today. You might have seen her on our social media accounts.
Hi, guys. We have also got with us our math scientist, Chris, who is our in-house scientist and is responsible for all our awesome science experiments here at Empiribox.
So let's quickly jump to the front and let's look and see what we can see today, especially when it comes to flowers.
Okay, so as Chris said then, today we are focusing on our different parts of a flowering plant. Oh, we got a few people waiting to get in the waiting room there. Okay, so we're looking at flowering plants today. So I have got a fantastic model here of a flowering plant. Now, normally, obviously, this would be on a stem here and would have leaves and roots in the soil, etc., to hold it high, okay? So if we just have a look at the different parts of our flowering plant and how that actually helps our flower to produce seeds. So on the outside here, we have got our beautiful petals, which are quite brightly coloured, aren't they? And that helps to attract insects to them in the first place. And then we have got, interestingly, flowers have both male and female parts to them. So there's no boy plants and no girl plants. All plants, you've got someone else in the waiting room. Right. All plants have both male and female parts, which is awesome, isn't it? So the centre of the plant here is all of the female parts. And around the outside, just inside the petals here, we have got the male parts of the flower. So the male parts of the flower here, you can see, have got like little sticks to them, and these are called filaments. And at the end of the filament here, we've got something called an anther. So the anther is really important because that holds all of the male reproductive organs to it. And in this particular case, we have pollen. I've lost my pollen off my anther. There we go. So these tiny little pom-poms here represent the pollen on the top of the anther there. So they're our male parts. Now the filament here holds the anther really nice and high so that when insects come to my flower there, the pollen on the top of the anther, my pollen keeps falling off, is slightly more easily accessible. Now the female part of the flower is held in the middle here. So right at the top here, we have something called a stigma. So that is the bit where the pollen needs to get to. And then down the middle here, we have something called the style, okay? Because females have loads and loads of style. So the pollen needs to get from the anther here to the stigma and go down the style of another flower in order for fertilization to occur and hopefully make a new seed. So how do you think that might occur? How might we get the pollen from this part of the flower here onto another flower to the female part? Generally speaking, there are a few different ways that that could occur, but actually one of the main ways that occurs is through insects. So we're going to give you 30 seconds to think about how many insects you can come up with between you, okay? 30 seconds isn't a lot of time. If you can come up with 30 insects, I'll be really, really impressed. You've got someone else in the waiting room.
Oh, yeah, no, okay.
Okay, so 30 seconds.
I've got it, I'm timing.
Got it?
And go.
Go. I'm going to think the most obvious one I can think of is bee.
Oh, I'm going to go with butterfly.
Moth?
Bumblebee.
Is that not the same as a bee?
Oh, no, it's a bumblebee.
You can get honeybees as well.
Oh, you do. And solitary bees, don't forget.
Yes, you can. Ants?
Ooh, that's a good one. Praying mantis?
Oh, you stole that from me from yesterday.
Oh, I did.
How long have we got left?
I think, well, and time's up.
Ooh, I hope you managed to get 30. Okay, so one of the most common, actually, insects, which carries the the pollen here is...
Ooh, blue bottles, daddy long legs, moth.
Wow!
Spiders, well done.
Is a bee, okay? And this is why you might hear that bees are so important, because actually they do an awful lot of work when it comes to pollinating flowers. So my little bee here would be attracted to the flower because it's so bright and colourful, and sometimes flowers give off really delicious smells as well. So my bee here would come flying along, and hopefully, whilst it's trying to get nectar from the flower here, it would brush past those anthers and pick up a piece of pollen. So then it would be attracted to another flower and it would fly.
And of course, as the bee basically flies to another flower, you can see there's a little bit of pollen there at the top. Oh, sorry. There's a little bit of pollen there at the top. And then as it goes to another flower to get the nectar, that pollen then gets stuck onto the top part of the female bit, which is basically called the stigma. That male pollen then travels through the style to the ovum where the ovules are kept. Now, the ovules are basically the plant's eggs. So the male part goes to the ovules, and of course, then fertilization occurs. Now, when fertilization occurs, where the two get together, and of course, what is formed? You get a fruit, and inside the fruit, basically, you get seeds. And it's now these seeds that need to be dropped by the plant. Now, the parent plant don't want to drop these seeds as close as they can to them, because if that happens, this seed then has to compete with the same resources that the parent plant does. So a plant...
What kind of resources might it be?
Oh, fantastic. That would be water, nutrients, sunlight, and of course, carbon dioxide. So these are some of the important things that the seed will need. Now, of course, the plants themselves have actually adapted themselves to make it possible for these seeds to be spread as far as possible. And we call that seed dispersal.
So let's have a look at how seed dispersal actually works.
I'll move that to one side.
There, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are a massive variety of different kinds of seeds. So Chris just showed you there a seed from a flower, which is brown and sort of oval shaped. And actually, we find seeds all the time, and you might not necessarily realise that what you're looking at is a seed, okay? So I've got a few seeds here to show you. So I have got a seed here. So I don't know if you can see this, it's really, really tiny, but this is a blueberry. And some of you might really, really enjoy blueberries. I quite like to have these on my breakfast. And there are seeds inside the blueberry, okay? So this particular fruit is really, really delicious. And we'll talk about why that's important in a bit. So we've then also got seeds in other fruits as well. So for example, if you happen to be a lover of an orange, I quite a lot of oranges, but every now and again, you know, they get those really annoying pips inside, and you'll take your segment of orange and you're like, ugh, and you'll be spitting pips out. So those pips, they are actually the seeds of the flower. We've also got massive seeds as well. So inside a mango, I don't know whether you've ever had a mango at home, but if you take the skin of the mango off, you'll get a really delicious orange fruit inside. And then there is a huge seed inside the mango too. Our last fruit, or our last seed, is a coconut. And there's water inside this coconut, or coconut milk inside here. And this is a huge seed. So our parent plant needs to be able to get these seeds away from the initial parent so that they have more room and space to grow. And one of the ways that plants can disperse their seeds is through water. So I have got a beaker of water here, and what we're going to do is we're going to make Flowers, you are amazing at reminding us to do things. I'll pop my goggles on, safety first. Okay, so one of the things that we're going to have a look at is, do we think that this seed would be able to be dispersed through water? Does it float? Okay, so my blueberry, I'm going to try the blueberry first. And what I would like you guys to do, if you're in your classroom or you're at home, I want you to make a prediction. When I put my blueberry into the water, is it going to float? And if you think it's going to float, I want you to stand up. If you think it's going to sink, I want you to sit down. Are you ready? So make your prediction. If you think it's going to float, I want you to stand. If you think it's going to sink, sit yourself down. Oh, I can see we've got a few people standing up, a few people sitting down.
Okay.
Oh, lots of people think it's going to float. We got, yeah, okay. So has it got a, yeah, okay. Brilliant, yeah. Okay, so your prediction is made. You can't change it now. Are you ready? Let me pop it in, see what happens. Can we
zoom it in?
Zoom in so that people can see if this floats or sinks? There we go. Okay, so the blueberry goes in. Oh, it has sank, guys. So actually, blueberries aren't great for dispersal and water. If you made a prediction that it would float, it's still a good prediction. There are no wrong predictions. It's great that you've had a go. Okay, so let's go for the next one then. So this one, we've got someone in the waiting room there. Yeah. So this one is our orange. Okay, so again, I want you to make a prediction. Do you think this is going to float? So do you think it's going to float, stand up? Or do you think it's going to sink? In which case, I want you to sit down. Make your predictions now.
Let's quickly say, float or sink, float or sink.
Float or sink, we ready? Oh, I tell you what, there's some really brave people because I can see a whole classroom sitting down there and there's one brave person that's going, I think it's going to float. Are you ready? Predictions are in place. We got a lot of different opinions on this one. I'm going to pop it in. You ready? Boop.
Oh.
Oh, look at that. It's a floater. So our orange actually would be great for floating on or using water on seed dispersal, wouldn't it? Okay, so let's go forward. If you were right, well done. If you were wrong, it's still great that you made a prediction. So let's go with our mango. It's a really big fruit. It's got a massive seed inside. Do we think it's gonna float, stand up? Or do we think it's gonna sink, sit down?
Our predictions, are they ready, boys and girls? There we go.
What do you think?
Oh, I think, I can't tell because I know the answer.
This is a hard one. Someone says, I think it's going to sink because it's got a huge seed. And that's really good because not only are you making a prediction, but you're coming up with a reason or you're justifying your prediction, which is fantastic. Right, are you ready? The mango's going in. Oh, it has sank. So the mango is not a good one for water dispersal. Let me just pop that one on the side. Right, you ready? Our last one then. It's massive. It's a coconut. What do you reckon? Give your predictions. Is it going to float, stand up? Or is it going to sink, sit down?
Let's see.
We've even got a teacher there making a prediction. I'm loving the fact that the teachers are joining in. Are you ready?
3, 2, 1. Go.
Wait for it. It is floating, guys. It's floating. So it might be massive, but actually, coconuts use water to disperse their seed on a regular basis. So that's a really, really good way of dispersing a coconut from the main tree. And if you think about this, actually, when you see pictures of desert islands, you get a big lump of sand and then you get a palm tree going out of it. So when the coconut drops, it often rolls down the beach and into the sea where it floats away to a whole new island. So water dispersal is a great way of moving seeds around. Okay. So this is a bit that Chris has been nervous about all morning because another way that seeds can be dispersed is through animals. Chris is a very big furry animal. And we're going to make sure that he looks a little bit more animalistic. He's adding ears. And Chris, give us a turn around. Show us your little tail. So we've got our animal here. Now, animals, actually, a lot of seeds have adapted to allow themselves to stick on to creatures, onto the fur of creatures. They've got like little hooks on the edge. So when our creature walks up to a seed and is eating the fruits and things, it actually gets stuck onto our animal. So let's make Chris sticky. Wrong end. I want that.
No. Oh, yeah. Here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so we're going to make Chris sticky. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now we have got a sticky animal, and I have got here a few seeds, okay? So I'm going to be the parent plant, and Chris is my animal, and we're going to see if we can move. Okay, so now Chris is covered in seeds, and as he moves around as an animal, you can see that some of the seeds will fall and drop off as he's moving around. And that's a great way to move seeds away from a plant. Now, there's another way actually that animals can move seeds. So we said earlier that blueberries are really delicious, didn't we? And animals like blueberries too. It's not just us. Chris, how do you like blueberries?
Oh, I love them, you know that.
Yeah, are you ready to consume a blueberry or two?
Well, I'm trying to get this off first.
Now, social distancing, I'm going to have to feed him these blueberries from a distance, so we're hoping that Chris is a good catcher. Are you ready, Chris?
I'll try my best.
Okay, here we go. No, you missed that one, Ready? Yeah! Okay, so our animal now has eaten the fruit with the seed inside. So what happens now throughout your day, Chris?
Well, I run around like mad and make sure that I'm everywhere, and then, of course, something happens.
No.
A process, yes.
A natural process?
A natural process.
Oh,
you can imagine what that is.
Ooh. Yeah, there needs to be a noise.
Oh, no, I'm not doing it.
But Chris, as he goes throughout his day, having eaten his food, the process of digestion is going to take place, and eventually he's going to have to poop out that blueberry, isn't he? So in that poop then, there's seeds, isn't there? And the fantastic thing about pooping out blueberry seeds is that they're also in their own fertilizer too. So they've got a fantastic start to life, haven't they, in order to germinate. Okay. So one more way then that plants have adapted to be able to spread their seeds, they've come up with something really, really incredible. And this is through an explosion technique. And Chris is going to talk us through this one.
All right, boys and girls, as mentioned before, so we've got seeds that disperse through water. We've got seeds that are dispersed by animals, either through their poop or being attached to their fur. But as Sarah said, there is a third way in which seeds can be dispersed. The fourth one you guys are going to investigate. But the third one, we're going to look at seed dispersal through explosion. Now, I'm going to demonstrate this with a little bit of a fun experiment. Now, what I've got here is a bottle with just a little bit of water in there. I also have a bit of a cotton wool because that's going to represent our seed. And I've got my barbecue lighter. I've got a chemical known as calcium carbide, which, when it reacts with water, produce a steam, or sorry, not a steam, it produces a gas, which is very flammable. And for safety reasons, this is quite a loud explosion.
It's really loud.
I'm going to make sure that I'm actually wearing my ear protectors as well.
Do you have your...
Yeah, no, I've got my stick over there. So, boys and girls, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a small bit of calcium carbide to my bottle with water. So I'm just going to take a very small amount of it, pour it in there, put my cotton wool at the top so you can see it there, and then let's see. Here's my flame. Let's see what happens. It happens sometimes. I think I didn't even have enough.
Reacted in there. Did you put enough in?
Yeah, I think it reacted a little bit quicker. Don't worry, this happens. Let's try that again. Just going to add a little bit more. Make sure I trapped in the gas.
Now to see the balls.
Here we go. Let's try that again. Oh, of course. That's okay. Hold on.
Oh. Can you see all the bits floating down, guys?
So that, ladies and gentlemen, again, I would like to do it again, but for safety reasons, I'm going to make sure that I don't do that again.
That was brilliant. So we did see there, didn't we, that through that explosion technique, and there are still, not only are there bits stuck to the ceiling here, which you can't see, but there's bits of fluff everywhere, and they're floating down to the ground, and they've been dispersed like in a really, really far radius away from our parent plant. So actually explosion is a fantastic way that plants can disperse their seeds. Now we're going to have a look now at your investigation for today's lesson, because there is a fourth way in which plants can actually disperse their seeds. And you may have seen these, thank you. You might actually have come across these. So a lot of the time when we're out walking, you might see, for example, dandelions, and you might, you know, the big kind of fluffy heads, and you might pick a dandelion, and sometimes you do that little game, don't you, to see how many blows it takes to poof all of those little fluffy seed heads off the dandelion. So actually, wind is a fantastic way of dispersing seeds. Now, you might already have seen as well sycamore trees, which have almost like a little helicopter seed on them. So the seed is held, and then we have two little wings there. So when they fall off the tree, they down to the ground, and hopefully the wind allows them to blow a little bit further away. So your investigation today then is to create some helicopter seeds. Now, if you have checked your email, teachers and parents at home, thank you, you will have been provided with a template that you can use to create your helicopter seed. However, you can create your helicopter seed in any way you like. You don't have to use the template, but it's there for you if you'd like to. So if you just have a look then, what we've done here is I've cut one out. I'm going to come around the other side of the table actually, so you can see a little bit better. So we have cut this out for you. So we have got A, B, and C on there, and you can see that there are some cut lines where we need to make cuts. So all you need to do on your helicopter template then is to make sure that you fold A in one direction and the other A in the other direction, okay? So can you see I have got one side and then one the other side. And then if we have a look here, we have got the B and the C. So all we need to do is to make sure that we fold C and fold B inwards there. And we have created our helicopter, okay? So this is almost exactly like what a sycamore seed looks like. So if you then hold your helicopter seed and you drop it, ooh, it spins down, okay? So your investigation today then is completely up to you. You could, for example, decide, well, actually, my independent variable and the thing that I would like to change on my investigation is the size of the helicopter. So you could have a go at producing a big one and a small one and see actually, well, which one manages to move the furthest. If you wanted to, you could decide, well, actually, I'd like my independent variable to be the weight. So maybe heavier seeds, if I add paper clips, for example, to the bottom of my helicopter, maybe weight or mass will allow it to move further away. You could also have a think about what else you think might help the helicopter to move a further distance. So you might want to maybe try one indoors, maybe try outdoors and see which one moves the furthest. If you've got little bits and bobs in your craft kits at home, you can have a go with adding feathers and all kinds of things, bits of tissue paper. It is completely up to you. Now, don't forget that you also have a link to our ready-made worksheet that you can use for this, okay? So on that worksheet, we have got a nice starter activity to remind yourself about everything that we've covered in today's session. You have got a little bit of information there and some fill-in bits about planning. So if you want to plan out your investigation, decide what's your independent variable? What's the one thing that you are going to change in your experiment? What's your dependent variable? So what are you going to measure? And then what control variables will you need to put in place? What things do you need to make sure that you keep the same every single time so that it doesn't mess up your results? You might want to decide to focus on analysing data or data capture and analysis of data, okay? So how are you going to, when you take your measurements, how are you actually going to put those measurements? How are you going to show them? Are you going to put your measurements in a table? Are you going to put them in a graph? Would you be best to take photographs of your measuring tape? That is completely up to you guys. You might also want to have a go at evaluating your practical. So carry it out and think about actually, were my control variables properly sorted out here? Was there anything I could do to make this investigation better? Or could I plan it out in a completely different way? So that's your guys' experiment for today, and I hope that you have a fantastic time trying that out. It's been lovely to hear from you guys on social media and to see what you've been doing, and it's been fantastic to see so many of you join us for the whole of Science Week. We've seen names pop up that we're recognising, people getting involved, interactive. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, boys and girls, and everybody. We do hope that you have had fun with us and that you have been enjoying every second of it. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Have fun.
Enjoy yourself. Have a good one. Cheers, guys. Bye, bye, bye.
It really is.
Oh, yeah.